How do you open up a craft beer brewing business in Japan? Today in episode 99 of the Ohazassu channel, we're going to go to a place called Tall Boys Brewing and find out. I'm going to talk to my friend Colin, who happens to be the head brewer and co-founder of the company. He's going to tell us all about how he got into the business and how the company was founded. Also, if you'd like to learn a new Japanese word while you're here, which I know you do, stick around for my word of the day segment at the end of the episode. Okay, without any further delay, let's jump right in and find out all about the world of craft beer brewing. G'day everyone, it's John here from the Ohazassu channel and I'm here today with Colin at Tall Boys Brewing. So I'm here today to ask you a few questions about this amazing place. We've been looking at all your stuff this morning as you are brewing your new batch. So when did beer become more than just a drink for you?
Honestly, since I was a kid.
If
we want to be really honest, yeah. When I was a child, like young child, I really loved beer. I don't know what it was about it. I loved the taste of it.
Yep.
And, you know, it started out with dad giving me sips here and there. That eventually turned into me, you know, stealing open bottles of beer from my dad and his friends, and they're playing games or whatever. But it always was something that I just enjoyed. And so, like, it became a hobby and something I was more interested in, like, maybe not even doing as a career, but just doing. Like when I was a teenager.
So it's always been a passion,
Yeah, probably around 10, 12-ish. My dad started homebrewing.
Right.
And so I was interested in that because it seemed cool, you know? And then as I got more and more older, I was really into science, especially biology.
Right.
And so like those kind of go hand in hand. I mean, you know, I had a general passion for it.
And was there a point where you realized that you wanted to make this something where you share it with other people like you're doing now?
I mean, I was a home brewer for a long, long time. Yeah. And so of course I shared my beer with people then, friends and stuff, and everybody would say, oh, your beer's great, you should sell this. And my answer was always, nah, I don't want to sell it. You know? Like I could make money at it, but then it becomes a job. It's not just a hobby.
It could take the fun out of it.
Yeah. And I had already done that with like working on cars and stuff. You know? But then after years of working my office job, some friends, a friend was telling me about how he wanted to, you know, get out of his business and go into craft beer because craft beer was starting to kind of take off.
It's been amazing, hasn't it?
And I mean, this was back in 2017-ish.
Okay.
And so I was like, that sounds good. I could be a brewer. You know, and before that, I was going to open a brewery in Tokyo too with a couple of kind of strangers. Right. Didn't really work out. So when a guy in Nagoya approached me, I was like, okay, Nagoya is kind of the market I want to be in anyway, because... Any
particular reason for that? Or
there were, like, after the Jibiru era, like the local beer craze in the 90s and early 2000s, after that crashed, there were no breweries in Nagoya until Y Market. Until Y Market opened.
I see.
Y Market opened about 10 years ago now, this year, so 2015. After that, there was just Y Market. So until we finally got everything together and finally established our business and everything, like, and then finally got all our equipment and licensed and stuff here, we were only the third brewery in Nagoya.
And while we're on the topic of, you know, office jobs and things like that, that's a big shift, isn't it? Was it worth it, do you feel?
Absolutely worth it. Absolutely worth it. I was kind of miserable in my office job. So like getting into this, one of the biggest challenges was like leaving my old job. Yeah. You know, having the courage to leave the job, having the courage to give up on a paycheck and not know when the next time I'm going to get paid is. You know, I worked for free in this company for, I'm one of the owners, but I worked for free for 2 years, 2.5 years.
It takes a while.
It takes a while. And like part of that, I was still working my office job, but on the weekends I was driving to Numazu and Shizuoka
Yeah.
And brewing and packaging all weekend, and then driving back and then going to the office.
Jeez.
You know.
Yeah, it's hard work.
Yeah. So I was doing that, and then in 2021, amidst Corona, I was like, you know what? Now's the time. We found this building that we're in now.
Amazing.
And it needed a lot of work. But we didn't have a huge budget. So I figured I can do what I can do. And then, we'll hire out a contractor to do the rest. And so, I was coming in every day and cleaning and taking care of other things too when the contractors were working and helping out where I could.
You've done a fantastic job. I've been here a few times and it's really a cozy place, but at the same time, it's like you can feel the professionalism that goes into making the beer. It's really an amazing job. Well done.
Thank you.
Again, like going back to, you mentioned the challenges or the hurdle that you must have felt. Did you have any times where you felt like you might give up how did you overcome those obstacles?
I never really felt like I was going to give up. There were a few times where it felt like we weren't going to make it.
Wow.
But I never wanted to give up because it's kind of like, as soon as I quit my old job, there's no going back. There were times where it felt like maybe we weren't going to make it. Like it was during Corona, so sales were just down in general.
Yeah, people weren't going out, right?
Yeah, people weren't really going out. And when we opened our tap room finally, at the very beginning, we had to close by 9 p.m.
Oh, wow.
Every single day. So we were open from only like 5 to 9 every day, other than weekends. We're open 3 to 9. Yeah. And those are hardly any hours.
Yeah.
And then getting people to come out to a new place
during that time.
Was, difficult. And there were days where, we had no customers or anything.
Oh, wow.
But now, we've got a great local customer base and our community really likes us and everything. So fine.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's, by the way, how long has it been since this place has opened?
Tap room's been open 3.5 years now.
Wow. Time flies.
So we bought this building in, I want to say June or July of 2021.
Right.
We started remodeling it. And then we pre-opened in January of 2022, late January. And then we had our grand opening first weekend of February 2022.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So almost 4 years now.
It's coming up.
That's amazing. Good work.
Thanks.
And going back to like the topic of starting up business, do you feel like there are any sort of difficulties, especially sort of, in Japan, compared to other countries? Any challenges?
Absolutely. You ask any brewer owner and they'll tell you one of the biggest challenges is just all of the paperwork and all of the waiting to get approval for licenses and that sort of thing.
Right.
It takes a long time to get approval for a license in the US or anywhere else because it is alcohol manufacturing. It's highly regulated and everything.
One of the most regulated, isn't it?
Yeah. But like getting through all the loophole or all the hoops, not loopholes, but all the hoops to like get the license is tough because despite the tax office being, in charge of all the brewing stuff, most of those guys are just bureaucrats. They know nothing about the market, nothing about the product, nothing about the process, nothing. So, and it's, some areas they might have a lot of breweries and then they might have people that are more, involved, more interested. But we were the first brewery to open up in this part of town under this tax office. And so we're having to walk them through each step, like what we need from them and everything.
Right.
And we had a couple fake outs where it was like, we're going to get our license soon because they came and checked out the place. Right. Okay. And usually that's a sign that you're going to get in a week or two. So that was in like August of 2022. Right. And we're like, we're going to get our license soon, finally. And stop having to drive to New Mazu. Right. And then they were just like, maybe in a month, maybe in a month, like over and over. And then they decided they want to come look at things again with a different group of people. Wow. And me train them again on what all the equipment does and everything. Jeez. And then finally we got our license. We got our license a couple days before my birthday in December. Beautiful birthday present. Yeah. Jeez. But it was like finally, because we were starting to run out of beer and that's nuts. Yeah. Jeez. So we finally got that. And then since then, I mean, I've got a lot of just the paperwork, like
Jeez.
I may have escaped the office life, but I didn't escape the office life.
Yeah.
Like, we're in the middle of a brew right now. Normally, I would let Rangi kind of take over while, measuring things and doing some prep work and stuff. And I'd be sitting here doing computer work.
Oh, right.
So I'd be, messing around in Excel or whatever.
And how long did the whole process take, like, to get the license?
So we first applied for the license before we got any of our equipment.
Right.
Because we wanted to get the ball rolling before. And so we applied right after we opened the tap room.
Okay.
Because we knew we were going to be buying the equipment soon after.
Right.
We bought the equipment in March. It got delivered, got manufactured, delivered in like late July, early August. And so then we, like, right after we got it all installed and everything. Right. Then the tax office came and we thought, okay, great. This is it. But no. So it ended up being, around 10 months.
Wow. Yeah. That is, I didn't expect it to be that long.
And we had done a lot of prep beforehand.
Wow.
For about a year and a half before. We had been doing prep work and talking to the tax office about what we needed and, filing preliminary paperwork and everything. Yeah.
Is there any advice that you want to give our viewers about, like, if they were to think about doing what you're doing?
If you have no experience brewing or running a business, either find somebody with said experience or take a year plus and go work somewhere else. In my case, I had been a home brewer for a long time. I trained in school to be a biochemist before I came to Japan. So I had a pretty strong background already. But even then, having a strong background in certain things doesn't make you good enough to run a business at it. So I went to Heretic Brewing in the U.S., in California, and worked for them for a little while. And it was a short period of time, but we were over there. We were brewing so much that we were brewing more in a week than most Japanese breweries do in a year.
Oh wow!
So we were brewing 3 to 4 times
a day.
It's
a very established company.
Yeah,
to take it.
Yeah. So we were brewing 3 to 4 times a day.
Wow! Jeez.
And so, like, I got a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge about things that I would have never even thought of without having worked in a brewery. Like, as a staff member, not as an owner. So I would strongly suggest doing that. And you can't learn it in a month. You need bare minimum 6 months to be even an assistant brewer. Right. When we start getting into, like, recipe creation and then, like, yeast management and all this other kind of stuff, like, you need years of experience before you're even going to get, like, to that point. So
excellent. Well, thanks very much for sharing that information. Yeah. Are you okay for time? It's 10.
I gotta run over there.
Go.
Yeah.
We're back, I guess.
Yeah.
And we had to go and,
go work in the brewery for a minute. We're in the middle of a brew right now, so there are points where I need to go run around for an hour or so.
It was really interesting to see what was going on. I'll put some shots up here on the video so you can see what was happening. But very interesting process. Thanks very much for showing me around, by the way.
You're welcome.
So let's get back to the conversation. So the pros and cons of opening a brewery in Japan, say, versus the US.
Okay. I mean, the pros are, well, for instance, Japan is still a growing market right now, especially for craft beer. The last 2 years, there's been hundreds of new breweries that have come online in the country.
Oh, really?
Let alone in, like, say, Tokyo or something.
Right.
Within Nagoya this year, Nagoya area entirely, this year there's going to be like 3-4 new places open. Wow. Yeah. Okay. And then more coming around next year. So, I mean, it's growing in Nagoya finally too. I mean, a place like Tokyo and Osaka, it's already blown up. Fukuoka, it's already kind of blown up. Sapporo. I was just in Sapporo. And when I used to go there all the time, there was 2 breweries in the whole city. Oh, and really? Now there's like 10. And so the market is really starting to blow up in Japan. Whereas currently in the US, the market is kind of correcting. It's starting to shrink. I see. Okay. It's not really shrinking so much as, like, a lot of breweries are closing, which it's a lot of people say, "Oh, craft beer's dead. Craft beer's dead." It's a market correction. You know, like there was so much growth in American craft beer, you know, from the 2000s until Corona. And then during Corona, everybody got hit really bad because all these draft sales went away.
Right.
And bars and stuff were shutting left and right. So everybody had to pivot to like packaged beers. And it just kind of, you know, everybody goes a little too overextended if you were like a regional. And the customer base is also kind of going like, we want to go to little neighborhood breweries.
Okay.
We don't want, like, we could drink the grocery store beer, and we still do, but most of our money is going to go to the little neighborhood place, not the big regional.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a pro being in Japan that we're still in this growth phase. And the cons, taxes are really high here. Alcohol tax is really high. So then beer is expensive.
Yeah.
All of our materials are imported. I mean, there are some places trying to grow hops, but you know, the quality is like, who knows? Right. They don't do any kind of analysis on them or anything.
I see.
They just say, oh, it's this type, but it's like, okay, I can grow Pinot Noir grapes in Japan, but they're not going to be a French Pinot at the same way.
I mean, we can grow tomatoes on our balcony, but they don't taste the same.
So that's a con. Just materials are expensive. Land is expensive. Taxes are high, so beer is expensive. The amount of volume that people drink is minuscule compared to the US. We have 15-liter kegs are our primary keg size here. We have some 20s. 20s, we only sell to like 2 customers. Everybody else, it's 15s, or they go, 15 liters? That's a lot of beer. So there's cons, and the market is so different than what I'm used to in the US.
Right.
And I mean, so turnover on beer is a lot slower than also production volume is a lot lower than what I'm used to. I kind of counterbalance it with another pro, I guess. The market's still pretty enthusiastic. So I like the growing market. I like that a lot of people are really enthusiastic about craft beer. Yeah. But also, people that are unfamiliar with craft beer are not kind of poisoned by ideas of craft beer. You know, like in the 2000s, in the 2010s, craft beer was seen as like, you know, hipsters like that because it tastes like cat piss and it's so bitter you can barely drink it. And so it's like a challenge kind of thing. That image doesn't really exist in Japan. Right. So, you know, I get a lot of, like, a neighborhood full of elderly people down here. There's a lot of young couples moving in and stuff too, but there are a lot of elderly people here. Never had anything other than normal beer their whole life. And then they come in here because they're curious. And then they try our beer and they go, wow, this is really good. This is something totally different. You know, normally I just have my Toriaizu beer and then switch to shochu. And then they come in here and they just sit there and drink beer all night. So it's a lot more complex and everything. So it, you know, kind of changes the way people think about what beer is. And I like that I have the opportunity to kind of be that educator in this market. That, you know, so for me, that personally, that's a pro. I don't have people that already have preset conceptions of what they're going to get when they come in. And when it doesn't match that preset conception, good or bad, you know, then most of the time people are like, this isn't what I had before. That's right. So like we brew a lot of lagers here, like Pacific Coast Hellas for one. And like, you know, if I were to sell this in the US, people might have an image of what a Hellas is already. And, you know, they might have only had a couple of Hellas's that were not very well made, but hey, now that's my image of Hellas, right? So here I can introduce people to new styles that you don't see in Japan. And, you know, if I try to make it as close as I can to a prime example of whatever style I'm making, then, you know, that kind of gives people the impression of what a good one could be. Not to toot my own horn or anything and say my beer's the best. They go into it with a neutral... they go into it, you know, not really knowing anything. And then they kind of walk out going, I liked that instead of like, oh, that was full of off flavors. Yeah. That was, they're not knowing what off flavors were.
And I guess like with this conversation, I'm sort of thinking, does that mean you see it as something that's here to stay?
Absolutely.
And it's not just a fad. It's
absolutely.
Yeah.
My mantra and part of why like, all right, so many new craft beer breweries and bars and things are opening up. And they're charging a regular, and a regular could be anywhere from 300 milliliters to 500 milliliters. They're charging from, like here we start at 950 yen for our classic Pilsner. And then go up. A 10% alcohol beer, might be 1,400 yen for a pint, an American pint. A lot of other places around the country that are opening are like, oh, well, such and such bar in downtown Tokyo charges 1,600 or 2,000 yen.
Right.
We can charge that for an unknown, amount of beer. And I kind of see that, okay, this is, if that continues, this will just be seen as a fad. Because, as things are getting more and more expensive every single day right now.
Big time, yeah.
Like, people are going to start cutting out these little luxuries. And so I want to keep our prices down as low as I can because I want everybody to experience craft beer.
And that's I want it
to be, something that it's not this like, oh, it's my one day a month that I can splash out on some beer. I want it to be like, okay, well, I'll have 1 can, 2 cans of Tall Boys a day. Instead of 3 pints in a month. Yeah, I would rather sell it like that, where it's kind of it integrates itself into craft beer itself, not just Tall Boys, but craft beer itself. It integrates itself into people's normal life, where it's a normal thing. It's not like this obscene luxury. It's, I feel like if we can get to that position, because that's kind of how it is in the U.S. In the U.S., it was just there a few months ago. I could buy a 6-pack at Walmart or Safeway or whatever, 6 small cans. They're about $2 each. Right. So, I mean, we're talking $12 for 6
bargain
quality beers. Yeah. And it's like, if it costs only that much.
It's very accessible, isn't it?
Yeah. That's a little bit more than if I were buying soda, practically. Yeah. So... then it kind of works into being just a normal thing. I mean, regular old macro lager is quite a bit cheaper. But it's still like $1, $1.15 a can. Yeah. I mean, that's nearly double to get into the craft beer, but it's like saying, well, 50 cents is double of 25. Yeah.
But it's still affordable.
It's still nothing. Yeah. So if I could get, the market doing what I can, to get the prices to come to be a level where normal people, not just craft beer fans, can somewhat regularly drink.
Yeah, beer. If it's just a choice, like, today I want this. Yeah. And
and the accessibility is the other condition. Getting shelf space in grocery stores and that sort of thing. Yeah. That's something we're kind of working on right now.
So what do you think would be the next evolution of craft beer, if there is one?
In Japan?
In Japan.
I think the next evolution, we've actually had really good sales with low alcohol beers.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So it's full flavor, good body, low alcohol beers. I think that's kind of where things are going to start moving. Japan always kind of lags behind the rest of the world when it comes to trends in craft beer. Right. Like right now in the U.S., lagers are booming, which the whole craft beer scene in the U.S. started as kind of like the anti-lager. Because lager was seen as like, macro lager. So you get your Budweisers and stuff like that, and everybody thought, it's so light and flavorless. Right. And it's a factory macro product. And now people are starting to realize that, hey, like a good quality crafted lager is really good because it's got a lot of flavor and, complexity, but also it's not something you're sitting there with a snifter of and having, a couple mouthfuls. And, it's something that you can just, when you want to pay attention to it, it's there. And when you just want to relax and watch baseball or go fishing or something, it's also there. So
Nice one. Okay.
I'm kind of hoping that the trends start going that direction.
Mm-hmm.
We already make quite a bit of different lagers here,
Right.
so we're kind of already ready for that.
Mm-hmm.
But also, just like I said, low alcohol stuff. We did a micro IPA 2 years ago for the first time. It sold out super fast because everybody was like,
Right.
wow, this is full flavor. This isn't super thin. It's not watery. It tastes like a regular full strength IPA, but it's only 3.5% alcohol.
Nice.
So I can drink several of them. And then people that are like allergic to alcohol or just, have a low tolerance.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm kind of I'm seeing some trends there going towards like some lower alcohol stuff, going towards more like, challenging to make beers instead of just, hey, we can make this beer as dirty as we want and just throw punch stuff at it to, make it sellable.
My next question is, I want to ask you, what is unique about Tall Boys in Japan or in Aichi?
In the general area, there are 2 foreign brewers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's quite a bit of competition
just
considering.
kind of most of Aichi, right?
Yeah.
And I'm one of them.
Okay.
And both of us trained in California. Both of us are fairly competent brewers. And so it kind of makes Tall Boys specifically unique. I've got a long passion, like long running passion for beer. I'm also like a beer history nerd.
Right.
So I like to, make random styles and that you just don't see. I like to introduce people to new things, and people want to try something new all the time.
I love that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So that kind of puts us in a unique position. As we talked about before, my price point. Also, I'm trying to keep things like affordable for everybody, as best I can with costs rising and everything. We also, because some of our suppliers get, interesting things and we're heavy users of several of them. We get some ingredients before they hit the open market.
I see. Okay.
So
that's interesting.
we recently did a New Zealand hop XPA, which is extra pale ale, with one of our suppliers. And they imported us hops specifically from New Zealand that were picked in late March, packaged in early April, and we received them the first week of May. And they were in a beer shortly after that.
Wow.
I mean, they were as fresh as you could get.
Nice.
Yeah. And that's something you just don't, you don't see unless you are going to Yakima or going to Victoria or
that's
going
amazing.
to, wherever Hallertau, and then buying the hops there and carrying them back with you. It's just something you don't see, especially like going from the vine to the beer in, the matter of like several weeks. So that's kind of unique for us too, like that we can have
that access.
We have that access.
Yeah.
Yeah, most places they're kind of, they're kind of stuck with whatever their supplier will offer them.
So it's the access to these special ingredients.
Access to special ingredients. I've got a lot of connections in the U.S. as well. So I can get a lot of things that, hop oils and things we can't get in Japan yet. Right. So I was experimenting with, different
really
hop products
stuff.
and things. So I think that's kind of one of the biggest points for us, uniqueness. It's another unique point that I was just thinking of now. The way that I run my brewery, the way that I run things in the production side, and you saw earlier today, like everything is very well timed out. And, we are logging so much data. We're getting as much data points as we can so that in the future we can recreate that beer. My brewing mentor once said that, anybody can make a good beer once. Anybody can make a great beer once too. But the challenge is remaking that beer over and over and over the same way as good every time. And that's always been my goal, is to consistently make the same beer. That's the real challenge. I mean, like I said, we log as much data as we can so that, people think you could just malt and hot water, mix it up, and then, whatever, then boil the wort and then add whatever hops, it can just keep using the same amount of hops every time. Yeah. But that's not really how it works. Like,
there are so many
variables and like keeping all of those in check. Like you can't just willy-nilly do everything.
No.
So yeah, like collecting lots and lots of data.
Yeah.
I think that's a unique point for us.
Mm-hmm.
I've had people that are in the industry but not brewers, that have been around brewers and stuff, breweries and stuff for a long time, come here and like see the amount that we're logging just on a normal brew day, and and like our timing is very specific for everything. They've commented specifically on that, like,
wow,
Colin, you run your brewery like the military, and it's like,
yeah,
I run it like a scientist, and not
yeah,
like the military.
Yeah.
So,
but it's got to be done that way.
Yeah,
I suppose.
yeah. I mean, this is, at the end of the day, this is a business. This is a business. So consistency and quality are, paramount. I could treat it like, hey, this is fun. Craft beer is so fun and cool, and it is. Don't get me wrong. It is fun and cool,
yeah.
But it's also business. So,
I mean, with everything, with products, we have expectations as consumers before there's a lot of psychology that goes into it before when you crack it open.
Yeah, I mean,
you expect a certain flavor.
Yeah, would you want to open up a Coca-Cola and you have it from this one bottling company, and then you have it from another one and it tastes like completely different, but like wrong?
Yeah. I mean, we can detect even slight between countries, like, the Coca-Cola there is a bit sweeter, or
yeah.
But
I mean, imagine if that was like one bottling plant was constantly making slightly different,
huge problems.
Yeah. Like nobody would accept that.
No.
So, you go to good McDonald's in town, let's say, and one day the hamburger looks exactly like the picture. The next day you get a Big Mac and it's upside down, or it's inside out or something like that. It's all the same ingredients, but without the exact same care given in the, things followed in a certain pattern. You get these inconsistencies that can ruin a product's image to a customer or consumer.
Yeah. Okay. Lastly, I guess I want to ask, because I know for a fact a few of my subscribers or followers on X are into craft beer, but they're not located in Nagoya. So for you guys, I actually want to ask Colin if there's a way that they can buy your beer, or anyone who's not in Aichi or Nagoya.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously you can buy it from our website. It's tallboysbrewing.jp.
Right.
We have a store on there. The direct link to the store is tallboysbrewing.square.site. But there's links all over our homepage. So, and all kinds of information about every single beer that we've produced, and, food pairing and stuff like that.
Oh, great. Okay. Yeah.
Lots of pairing suggestions and whatnot.
Nice one.
Yeah, so you can buy it from our EC site, obviously. If you are located in one of the bigger cities in Japan, you can possibly buy it from a bottle shop or a liquor store.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So like in Tokyo, we're often shipping beer to Liquors Hasegawa in the Yaesu Underground right by Tokyo Station.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah.
So if you're riding the Shinkansen out of Tokyo, you can go grab some some cans of our beer and take them with you.
Yeah. Nice one.
Beer Ma in Kitasenju, also in Tokyo. They stock our beer regularly. There's a couple other places that have it kind of randomly, bottle shops. And of course, you can always, you go to your favorite liquor store or bottle shop and say that you want to try Tall Boys. The shop can contact us and get registered on our wholesale site, so then we can start selling
nice,
beer
very nice.
So,
okay.
Okay,
so even if there are some businesses watching, if you want to stock Tall Boys, you can get in touch with Colin. Yeah.
DM us or go to our webpage, and there's links directly to our wholesale store on there.
Are you on any social media as well?
Yeah, we're on primarily Instagram.
Okay.
At Tall Boys Brewing.
Right.
Pretty easy. Personally, if you want to follow my, musings and whatnot as a brewer, you can follow me at Beer Cycle Boy. So I like the bicycle and everything, and I like beer. But so Instagram is the best place to get us.
I'll put your links down below.
But oftentimes when we have events, we'll announce them through Facebook.
I came for pizza night the other day, and that was great. So if you like pizza and stuff like that.
Yeah. Twice a month.
Great. Yeah. Excellent. All right. Well, thanks very much for answering all our questions. And, I think it's time to enjoy.
I think you're right.
Something.
Yeah. Shout out to Twin Peaks Mountain Brewing. My buddies up in Ibaraki. Yeah, this is their glass, but this is my personally used glass in the tap room. So
Cheers.
cheers.
Thanks. Oh, beautiful. And that brings us to the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. It was a pleasure to go to Tall Boys Brewing over there in Kasadera in Nagoya City and to see how the beer is made and also to learn about the business over there. As you know, it's time for Word of the Day now, and for today's Word of the Day, I actually asked Colin for some advice because I always choose a word that's related to what we speak about, and you know, he knows more about beer than I do, so I thought I should ask him. So he gave us this word for beer in Japanese today, and it's apparently the original way, the old way of saying beer in Japanese. These days, of course, you say biru is quite common, but there is an old way of saying beer, and that is bakushu. And I'll put the kanji here on the screen for you as well as always, and you can also find the word card for this on my X feed as well as my website. Anyway, thanks very much for watching today as always, and if you want to support my channel, I'd really appreciate it if you like the video and subscribe to my channel and also share it with your friends. It really helps to grow my channel, and you know, I really want to get more of these videos out and I want to keep making awesome content for you guys. Thanks very much as always for tuning in, and I'll catch you at the next video. Bye for now.